The mass exodus from corporate America is real. I mean, I told y'all last week that my husband is actually quitting his job, and I have several friends that are dipping out of the corporate world, and the numbers show that this is a crazy time in America like no other, when people are exiting their corporate jobs and trading that in for freedom and the life that they want. So if that is you, if you're like, you know what, I want to do that. I don't want to work in my corporate job anymore. I hate my job. I would like to do something else, but I don't know what. How are these people quitting with no income? I'm about to tell you how to get it done. So if you're looking to quit your job, but you don't have any money and don't know how you're going to get that done, this is the video for you. Hey, howdy, hey, yo, welcome back to my channel. What is up, my friends? If you're new here, my name's Jessica Stansberry, and if you're looking for all things entrepreneurship and passive income so you can work less and live more and have more freedom, this is the channel for you. I said a minute ago in the opener of the video that this is a very real thing, that corporate America is seeing declines and people quitting their jobs at record rates. And I have a few theories behind why this is happening, but one of them is because there's people like me and, hundreds of other people who are constantly talking about how awesome entrepreneurship is. And with social media, even, the person over here who's never thought about quitting their job is seeing this type of influence in their life and might start to think about it. I know for me personally, I always kind of thought I would own my own business, but I didn't know what that looked like. And I went into corporate assuming that any type of business I owned would just have to be a side hustle and I would never actually own a business full time. But someone like my husband, for instance, he went into corporate fully prepared to be at that same job or a similar job for the next 30 years and, then retire and go on about his day because that's what you do. But being married to me, he saw a lot of influence around creating a life you love, doing things you love for work, and having the freedom to live your life the way you want to live it. And so while just a few years ago he would have never quit his job, he is now, on the exit ramp to being done with the corporate world. So I think there's a lot of factors at play here. I think it's people understanding that life is short. We're in the middle of COVID. People get that life is short and they hate their job. They don't want to do it anymore. They're seeing the benefits of entrepreneurship. And honestly, I think a lot of people are seeing that they're not respected and taken care of in their corporate positions, and that makes them want to leave. Because corporations prior to now could totally just be major buttholes to their employees, and the employees would still stay because there wasn't another option. Now, in big cities and things like that, I know this is a little different, but here in my small town, if you get one of the good jobs, people thought you were crazy if you left, even if you were completely miserable, because that's just part of working. You're supposed to be miserable at your job. So I think people are understanding that that's not true and that they can do something a little different. So if you've seen this with your friends, if you've seen people just, pulling an Irish exit and you're like, you know what, I want to do this too, but you're like, how are they doing it? Like, there's got to be bills paid. Like, what's going on here? That is what we're gonna dive into in this video. If we go back 11 years to little baby Jessica, when I quit my corporate job, I actually quit without a plan, and it put our family in a pretty crappy position, but I don't regret it for a second. Now, of course, we were living in a 2-income household, and so me leaving wasn't the same as if I was by myself and needing to pay the bills by myself. My husband could, cover most of our major bills, and we rearranged things so it could work, but I still don't necessarily recommend quitting without a plan or without, savings or things there to kind of keep everything going. Now, with my husband quitting, we have planned this for years at this point. We know what's going on. We understand what has got to happen for him to be able to do this. And we've been, putting the pieces in place for a while now to get to the point where this was okay. And this was the thing that we could do. So first and foremost, if you are in a dual income home and you have someone else who does not want to quit their corporate job and they are bringing in income, it might just be a conversation of where can we cut, what can we get rid of? What can we do without? What can we move around to be able to make this happen? But I understand that even in a dual income home, and that also there's a lot of people who don't live in a dual income home, that's not always possible. We can't always just rely on someone else's income to allow us to stay home. Even though I did that, we still couldn't afford it. We ran up credit cards like crazy because we couldn't afford it. So there were times when I was putting like health insurance payments on a credit card or groceries on a credit card. And so that tells you how much we could not afford for me to quit my job at the time. Again, I don't regret it. We had a couple of like really hard financially strapping years, but it led us to where we are today, and I'm really thankful for that. But again, not what I would recommend to anybody. Okay, so to get into the meat and potatoes of this video, what really needs to happen if you want to quit your corporate job and you do not have the financial capabilities right now to get that done is that you need to start a business. That's point blank all that needs to happen. Now, you may need to side hustle that business for a while you're still in corporate to get you to the point where you can quit. Or you might be in a position where you could quit and quickly ramp up a business. Now, my husband is kind of in that position. He has a lot of authority, he has a lot of connections, and he has a lot of experience in the field that he's going to be starting a business in. And plus also, in his corporate job, he can't do the business that he wants to start because it's a conflict of interest. So he has to wait until he quits to be able to do that business. But because he has the authority, the connections, and the experience to make that happen, that is not going to be too rough of a transition because he already has things lined up and we already know, what's going to happen moving forward. But I understand not everybody has that capability. So it may be that you have to start a business that you use as a side hustle for a few months, even a year, even maybe more than a year to get you to the point where you're ready to quit that job. And what I would do if that is you is come up with a number that you need to be making per month from your side hustle to make sure that that transition is easy and isn't going to stress you financially or stress you in general. It may be that you currently make let's say $4,000 a month, and that is what you're making from your corporate job, and you want to make $4,000 a month from your side hustle. But it also may be that you can't possibly make $4,000 a month from your side hustle while also working a full-time job. So your number to actually put in your notice and get ready to quit might be $2,000 a month from your side hustle, knowing that the extra time that you're going to have once you are not working a 9-to-5 will allow you to build that up to that 4,000 mark pretty quickly. So there's some transitions to think about here, but overall, if you want to quit that corporate job, you have got to start a business. That's all there is to it. And the cool part about 2021 and beyond is that you can start whatever business you want to start. Back in the day, it used to have to be oh, you want to start a business, you have to have money up front, you have to have this, that, and the other, and that is just not true anymore. Even 10 years ago, I started the business that led into the business I have now for $0. That's probably not true. I think I did pay for a domain and website hosting, but for the most part, I started this business for $0. And my husband will be starting his business for $0. There are a few things that he has to get in place that might cost him, a couple $100s, but that is it. So we're in this really cool time where you can start a business for no money that can grow to the point where you can ditch that corporate job. So that's what I want you to focus on. But inevitably, the next question is going to be, but what do? I don't have any skills. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to start a business with. So let's talk about that. Such a common thing within people who want to start a business but don't really know what direction to go into is that they think that they don't have anything to bring to a business. Oh, well, I've only done jobs that are in this category and those are the skills that I have and I don't know how to translate that into a business. But I can almost promise you that whatever skills you currently have from your corporate job will allow you the ability to make a full-time plus income from your own business. So when you're thinking about starting a business, especially one that's going to fund the ability for you to quit your job, you have to think about the experiences and the accolades that you already have coming out of corporate. How can you use those to start a business instead of trying to learn something new, or instead of trying to invest in something, blah, 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 that's going to fund it, right? You want to really focus on what you already know or what you could learn pretty quickly to get you in that direction. I had a client several years ago, and I'm talking like 2016, several years ago. She was actually my first coaching client, and I was her first coach. And she had just come out of corporate, and I can't remember if she quit corporate or if corporate quit her, but she had just come out of corporate and was losing a pretty substantial income, right? And we kept trying to figure out what was a good business idea for her to pursue. And she just kept saying, like, I just don't have any skills here. Like, I just don't have any skills that are going to translate to the real world. When in reality, her exact job translated into the real world, the business world, a business she could start. And let's just say that she was working in HR. So she was in the human resources department. She dealt with hiring and firing and, dealing with the people inside of a company. Well, what she was missing is that entrepreneurs need that too, and small companies need help with an HR department when they may not be able to fully afford an HR department full time. So she was able to take the skills that she had coming out of HR and corporate and turn them into a package deal with a service that she could then market to small businesses, small companies, entrepreneurs, things like that, that allowed her to kind of be their HR department on contract, help them hire people, and then onboard them. And once that was working smoothly, she could dip out and go help the next person. And that's just one example. There are so many things you could do with the skills you already have. Virtual assistants are literally the epitome of if you understand, admin work. So if you have been, in the administration part of your business, if you have been an assistant, if you have been someone who, deals with correspondence back and forth or customer service, that is literally what a virtual assistant does. And so you can turn those skills into a business that you can then contract out with to other businesses. I'm going to run down a list here in a second, but just to kind of put a period on this sentence, there are also skills that are pretty easy to learn and then take out and market. So let's say you want to be a photographer. Like, you could invest in a course that would teach you everything you need to know. You could, spend like bonus money or stimulus money to get a camera that you could, start this business with. Take these classes, understand what you're doing, and pretty quickly learn how to run and operate and be good at a photography business, where then you could use the business itself to continue to help you hone your craft. Graphic design, web design, video editing, these are all also really easy or quick things to learn, because there's classes all over the internet on how to learn things. And not only that, there are also free YouTube videos and blog posts and free resources all over the internet on how to learn certain skills. So not only can you bank off the skills you already have, but you can also learn skills pretty quickly to help you make that transition. So to just name a few businesses that you could start banking off your existing experience or something that you can learn pretty quick, we've already talked about administrative work, doing like virtual assistant type business. I actually have a couple of friends who teach people how to be virtual assistants and how to start those businesses. I'll link both of them up in the description below. But that is a really easy field to get into because you probably have a lot of the skills you need to start a virtual assistant business. So you can dive in, maybe learn a few things, and start getting customers pretty easily. Now, with all of these I'm going to talk about, they are a service-based business, but at the very end, we'll talk about other types of businesses you could start now and would hopefully be to the point where you could quit with the income from them in a little while, maybe a year or two. But really quickly, let's just run through some services you can do. If you love to travel, you can become a travel agent. I have a really good friend who just started with a travel agency type situation recently, and she is doing really well already out of the gate. If you love to travel, if you love to go to Disney, you can be like a certified Disney agent or whatever. And that is a really inexpensive and easy way to get started in a business as well. Do you know graphic design? Do you have an interest in graphic design and could learn it pretty quickly? You can start a business with that. What about video editing? Maybe you're a YouTuber and this has always been a side hustle for you, but you know how to edit videos. And so you could easily turn that skill into a business. And trust me, video editing is a very needed skill in our industry. Photography, copywriting, customer service, these are all things that you can turn into your own business and be able to make money that allows you to quit your job. So I can promise you this is true, this is a thing, this is possible. You do not have to stick around in a job that you hate, that doesn't appreciate you, and maybe doesn't allow you to live the life you want to live. You absolutely can start a business that affords you the life that you want to live. Maybe it's not that you want to quit corporate altogether, but with working from home with COVID and now having to maybe go back to an office, you've decided that you really love to work from home and that is something that you'd want to do. There are a ton of work from home opportunities. There's a ton of entrepreneurs like myself who hire remote positions. There are a ton of options when it comes to working from home nowadays. So that should not hold you back in any way. One quick thing I wanted to say about the actual services before I move into something a little bit different is that sometimes people are like, yeah, but how do I get people to hire me? There are websites like Upwork and Fiverr where you can go on and make a listing for your service that you will do, and then people can find you there and hire you. I actually just recently was I talked about this in another video, but I was trying to figure out whether or not we were going to offboard video editing onto my existing team and then maybe hire another team member, or if we were going to contract that out with a video editor. And in trying to make that decision, I wanted to see what we were looking at price-wise and what would make the most sense financially for my company. And I immediately went to Upwork. I went to Upwork and I went and looked for people who do video editing to see their general prices. I looked for some people who would fit my style. And honestly, that's where I would have started if I was looking to hire a video editor, because I don't know anybody off the top of my head to hire in that capacity. So yes, a lot of starting your own business is word of mouth, but there are so many sites now that will allow you to create like a working profile or a seller's profile that will allow you to be able to do the thing. Also, it's a really, really gloomy day. Do you see that? I'm getting basically no light in this office from outside, which is normally what I film with. So I have like a light behind me. It's making me hot. It's a whole thing, but it allows me to use different angles that I normally can't use because this is normally so bright, I couldn't point the camera at it. So switching gears, not only can you create a business out of a service, like I'm gonna be a virtual assistant, I'm gonna be a video editor, I'm gonna be a photographer, but you can also create a business that's a little bit more passive. This is going to get you into the arena of being a YouTuber or an influencer or a content creator in general, where you are making money because you put videos on YouTube or because you shared a link to something you love on Amazon, or maybe you even sell an online course or digital products, which is a lot of what I talk about on this channel. And you can absolutely do that. You can make the money with those types of businesses to be able to quit your corporate job. But disclaimer, those usually have a longer runway to be able to get you to the point where you're making the money you need to make. So you're either going to have to start those now and allow them to build up and be able to give them the time they need to be able to build up to something that could afford you the ability to quit, or you're going to have to understand that it may be a while before you get to that point. I think people think that maybe this is like a quicker path to success than it actually is. But if you want to be a content creator, if you want to be someone who makes more money passively, first of all, it is a hustle. You have to hustle. You have to do it. You have to get it done. You have to be consistent. You have to be good. You have to be strategically educated on what you need to do. And most people get started and don't have a lot of the pieces to put in place to make sure that's true for them. Content creation, affiliate marketing, building an audience who would want an online course or a digital product, or making money from YouTube, these are all long games. So this is not something that I think you could make a couple $1,000s a month with in your first month. Whereas I do think you could make several $1,000s a month in your first month doing a service that you already have the skills for. So I'm not saying it's not possible, I'm just saying it's a little different. And you either have to be prepared to not make any money for a while until you get to that point, or you have to be prepared to do this and build it up while you're prepping to quit your corporate job so that at the end, there's a clean switch and you're not left just like running off the road. You know, like you ran on the runway. Like that's not what I want you to do. So while I'm here every single week telling you to create online courses and to make a more passive business, I'm generally talking to people who are already doing a service that is making them money, that they can trickle in pieces that will allow them to do this more passive income, or people that have runway revenue from another business or a job or something that can take the time to make this happen. So I don't want you to think you can't do it, but it's definitely going to be a longer game. So if you're looking to quit corporate tomorrow, you need to look at what services you could provide, what type of business you could start with a service that you already have the skills for, or one that you could learn pretty quickly. And honestly, that's really it. But I want to give you a little bit of a pep talk as someone who has done this, who's done it successfully myself, and whose husband is about to do it too. It is possible. If you want to build the life that you are dreaming of, if you want to have the freedoms that maybe you see X, Y, or Z person having and you want more of, if you want to start that business, you can do it. It might be hard at first. It might be that you have to stay at a job you hate for a year to build it up, but it is possible. And just because, you know, mama, daddy, Aunt Susie, like whoever is out here telling you that like, that's stupid, you shouldn't do that, you have insurance and benefits and retirement with that job over there, no matter what they're saying, it is possible, and it's possible to live a life that is different from what maybe you thought you could live in the beginning. So if you're having that feeling of like, oh, I really want to quit my job, but I don't know what this looks like, hopefully this helped you get started in the right direction. And also, hopefully it helps you see that it is possible, because I promise that it is. I'd love for you to chat me up in the comments below if this is something you want to do. If you're looking to quit corporate, or if you have quit corporate, let's have like a party for people who quit corporate down below, because it is such a fun world. And also, please note that there is nothing wrong with staying in corporate, especially if you love your job, especially if it's a good job. Most people don't have that experience, is the only reason we're seeing this mass exodus. If corporations would actually treat their employees well and would understand what they need to stay, then we wouldn't be seeing this happen. So if you do love your job, if you have one of those awesome ones, good for you. I definitely don't want you to quit that job, especially if you love it. This is more so for people who don't love their job and are looking to quit. So until next time, bye y'all.